thing. Everyone. Saturday morning stream. To develop today. Specifically, we're going to be doing around making Xamarin.Forms. Sharp. Recommended by Dan. This isn't a control that normally I would recommend anybody build. I'm going to publish what I have out here today, but I don't fully recommend that you try to build fully. Take whatever I have and you can do whatever you want with it afterward. These controls are pretty insane. Before we even get started here, let's just go do a little bit of investigation, right? So, little backstory on this, I guess. So, 2 years ago, I started working on our Aurora controls for Xamarin.Forms. And pretty early on, I thought, hey, it would be cool to have like an editor or an entry field. Didn't have to use ones that baked in with iOS and Android. Let's make something better. You know, I'm a developer. I can make. What are the developers at? We'll know, right? So I went out there and started investigating it and spent a little bit of time working on one, but it is like the most rabbit hole of all time. When you think about doing keyboard entries, you've got languages that you need to worry about. You have different keyboard entry styles. Is it on-screen keyboard? Is it a hardware keyboard? How do I manage where the cursor is? How do I manage delete? What if I highlight and go in and do like a reach in to like a highlight and have it like zoom in and all that kind of stuff. I thought I'd pull up and start out here by scaring the hell out of everyone. I don't know. Having us at least take a look here at so this is the text view control for Android. So if you don't know, Android controls and everything like that are open source, right? So you can go in, if you go and see the fundamentals of how the Android operating system's building stuff, you could go in and see exactly how they're doing. This is their text view. Scroll down to the bottom, make it there today. It's coming in at a hefty 11,500 and change lines of code, which is what we're looking at today is not going to be this. We're not going to do all this. I'm not going to build out all this control, but I'll show you, I think. Again, maybe I didn't mention this before. We've probably done about 5 minutes worth of prep on this. So we're gonna do what we can and see if we could build one of the controls. I did it before. I can maybe do it again, or I can get something simple going again, right? Another one you could look at too. So if you don't want to look at it from the Android side, there's actually another cool place you could go to look at doing this stuff if you're interested in doing SkiaSharp development. And that's actually the Flutter repository. So Flutter, again, from Google, is sort of their new UI rendering layer. Today, we see it as something that could be used to build cross-platform apps, kind of like how you would do Xamarin. The big difference, though, is that Flutter is, where Xamarin's kind of the approach of, by and large, we're going to use native controls and kind of wrap them with an interface, give us a way to, sort of interface our way through building an interface, our way through building a user interface. Flutter said, forget it. What we're going to do is we're going to throw that away, and we are going to instead build a user interface, just kind of like almost like using a game engine, right? So they're going to use Skia and things like that, similar to what we're going to do today in the Xamarin world. And they're going to build out sort of their own custom controls for everything. So they do all the UIs, you know, the entries, the switches, the buttons, all that kind of stuff. It's all custom drawn. So again, it's, you know, in my mind, it's pretty similar if you've ever done like game development, something like that. It's pretty similar to what you do there. The cool thing for us then, like if you are a Xamarin developer looking to do some custom UI drawing and controls, is that the Flutter controls are all written in a language called Dart, which if you've never seen it before, I've got it up on the screen here. Let me see. It looks pretty close to C#, you know, so if you've never like worked with it before, it's pretty easy to kind of read, go through. And a lot of the way that they're doing the drawing and stuff like that is pretty similar, so you could kind of plunk and get a feel. Again, this is the control for their text field, and theirs is way more simple, but still, it's like 1,000 lines of code. Quick question from the chat. Let's see. Which do I prefer, Flutter or Xamarin? Yeah, I do like Xamarin quite a bit. You know, I always keep my eyes open and just try to check out what's new and happening out there. Flutter, I think, is cool. I have Google concerns, I guess, which, you know, I've been burned more than a handful of times with Google in the past, kind of releasing something and then letting it kind of blaze out there. I don't know that Flutter's going to be that case, but, and it seems to be picking up quite a bit of traction too, which is cool. So, but no, you know, fundamentally, I think it's a pretty cool idea and a pretty neat thing. You know, we haven't done a full scale app in it yet, so I can't say that I've gone like all the way in and out, but I've done some like playing around with it, or quite a bit of playing around with it, I guess. You know, just setting up stuff and trying to port some of the things that we have and trying to do some of the stuff that we do normally. And I think that Flutter's pretty cool. Still definitely, I would say earlier, you know, I think it's getting a lot of hype because it's new. You know, developers always tend to go to what's new and what's hot. And I think it gets a lot of hype for that. But, you know, like at the end of the day, Xamarin's like super compelling even still, like, you know, even though it maybe doesn't have the hotness factor that Flutter has at the moment. The thing that Xamarin has going for it is that, you know, you've got this huge ecosystem of plugins and everything like that kind of help you just get like up and running, boom, almost instantly. You know, you've got like things like Xamarin.Forms, which help us bring our apps out to like almost every platform now. It's kind of crazy. You know, you could do Android and iOS and Mac and tvOS and all the different Windows platforms and stuff like that, and have to do little tweaks and things along the way there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so and plus, like, I don't know, .NET has a lot going for it. So in particular, like for me, for work, we do it's a lot of like enterprise style mobile applications. And the thing that's so crazy and so compelling about the .NET ecosystem right now, and especially like Xamarin, is that you could write code in .NET and use it everywhere, right? It's like when I first started getting programming, that would have been like C. That would have been the idea of that. Or Java's like write once, fail everywhere. I was a Java developer for a little bit, right? I know those days are kind of different too, but the idea with .NET is, you know, and our team does this a lot, is we'll write model code or we'll write view model code, some sort of caching or persistence logic, and then we could share it across, you know, our mobile applications, our desktop applications, if we're doing some backend admin applications, you know, with things like Blazor and stuff too. A lot of the code that we were writing for mobile is starting to get shared over to the Blazor world too. So I think it's super compelling from. Yeah, Xamarin still 100% for me. I think, you know, if I was doing a really high design application, maybe there's some cool stuff I could do with Flutter, but if I want to build like a real ass app, I would use Xamarin. But each their own, right? Use what you do best in. That's my opinion. So, advantages of Flutter over Xamarin. Yeah, I would say like the cool thing about Flutter is, you know, you kind of have a big canvas. It's what we're going to look at here a little bit today with what we're going to do with SkiaSharp. You've got a big canvas for the screen, and you're not beholden to any cruft of legacy UI stuff, which I think is the big advantage of Flutter. So, you know, if you want to build this super highly designed I want to call it like a marketing app, but like an app that is more design than functionality. I think it's way easier to do that in Flutter world. You know, you've got full access to doing all the drawing. Their stuff for doing drawing is really nice and really good from that perspective. And like, you know, again, if you wanted to do, you know, an iOS app that had material design, they've got all that stuff ready to go. Plunk it in and whatever. And you can almost like switch it on the fly, right? I think all that stuff's pretty cool about Flutter. And then Xamarin, like I was saying, I think the biggest advantage of Xamarin right now is .NET Eco. You know, just between being able to have all the stuff that's available in .NET available to us as mobile developers is insane. If you're developing applications across platform, I don't know. It's so cool to have a language like C# or write with F# or whatever. Just having a language like that you could use everywhere is a crazy advantage. And as we'll see, like even like I was saying with the Flutter stuff, you know, they do have sort of nice out of the box things that they could do with drawing and whatnot. But we're going to be looking at SkiaSharp today, and it's going to give us some of the same fundamentals there. So that should give us some help out there. My views on the Uno platform. You know, I've looked into Uno a little bit. I'm not an expert. I really can't comment entirely. I think their idea of what they're trying to do is cool. I think, maybe I'm wrong about this, but it seems kind of Flutter-esque in a way, that I think they're doing a lot of custom drawing. I don't have a ton of opinion, though, like to be perfectly honest with you. So, I just did a little bit of research, but not a ton. So I think it's cool. The more frameworks that we have, the better. If anything, having more competing frameworks allows people to play off of each other, right? So they could see what other people are doing and learn from that. And not only that, they can, either borrow tech, like, hey, this person made this cool idea, I could use that over here. Or it might spur another team to work harder, like, hey, we're getting our lunch eaten by this other platform. We need to do something better. We get better tooling out of it. So, although I have, like I said, I don't have a ton of opinion on it today. I just really haven't done much with it. I think it's cool. I just don't have a ton of opinion on it. All right. So let's get cracking here. Like I said, I did 5 minutes of work up front. Really what I did out here is I created, let me see. It's killing. It's late. All right. That's fine. I did like 5 minutes of prep here. So, we're just gonna work our way through this one. What we're gonna do, like I was saying, is we want to build an entry control for Xamarin.Forms, all rendered and drawn by ourselves, and we'll do all the like interaction with the keyboard listening and stuff like that too. So kind of like our own basic, real simple entry control. Not using anything from, not using the entry controls from iOS or Android. We're just gonna draw it ourselves and render it out. All right, so to get started here, like I said, I just did a little bit of work. I've got our stock standard right out of the box Xamarin.Forms project here out on the Mac. And we need to add in some NewJs. So let's go and manage those NewJs. Hop in SkiaSharp here, and we'll do SkiaSharp preview stuff, but pop all this in. I've got some real quiet music playing in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Or if you don't want to hear it, let me know and I'll turn that off too. I adjusted them. So that's too loud in the background. If you don't want to hear it, just scream at me. All right, so we've got our packages added in here for. Still adding them a little bit, but we're going to add in those packages out here for SkiaSharp. Here. Do I upgrade essentials and forms? No. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday morning here. Whatever time it is by you. Overcast and dreary day out here in the Chicagoland area. In Kentucky, nice. Rainy everywhere today, apparently. Well, good. Glad to hear everybody else is having to deal with the miserable weather, too. In Kentucky recently, actually. Flying out there. Like the area. All right. Looks like our packages are added in here. So, to do this, to do what we want to do, we're going to have to create a custom renderer. And to get that started, we're just going to start by creating a custom view out here in our Forms project. Call this, we'll just call it Skia. That's fine. Right, and our Skia entry has to inherit from view. Really think to get this started that we have to do anything else than this. Probably enough. But we might need to add some properties. We'll probably add some properties on here for text change and things like that. But at least to get started, I think this is probably okay. All right, and let's just go pop that view into our interface here. For XAML code, do a lot of XAML coding. Probably are sick and tired of here. You're gonna have to watch me fumble my way through this. That's our guy. Have some stack layout here. I don't want this to sound. Add some padding. And left, top, right, bottom. We'll just put some padding at the top since we're using iOS out here. Just push that down so we can see all of our control out there. Local here, and that's Skia entry. Name of we're off to the races. So I think that'll work. Double check that I didn't do stupid. Break something. Good enough. Okay, so next up, we're going to need to pull in some Skia-ness, right? And to do that, we are, in this case, going to need to go out to our native projects. So the cool thing about SkiaSharp is that Matthew Leibowitz, the guy who's the primary maintainer for it over at Microsoft, he's done like a ton of work for us so that if you were just drawing like a custom control, I don't know, say you wanted to draw some kind of like a loading widget or something like that, you could do all of your work out here in the shared project world, which is pretty awesome. Today's control, though, because we need to listen for like because we need to listen for the keyboard, we're gonna need to go do this out on the native world. But normally, if you wanted to, you could just make just gonna show this here is how easy it really is. Custom drawer. I got my custom drawer out here. He actually has Sharp. Get this SK. The unoptimized one, but you get like this canvas view out here, and override on paint surface. So check this out. Like, this is all you would need to do to start to draw on these things. So you just are canvas. Canvas comes in with these event args, and it'd be surface.canvas. And if you wanted to, you could do something as simple as draw color. What is everybody's disgusting color that we want to choose for today? You know what? It's not disgusting color. I love this one. So I do a bit of fishing on my free time, and one of my favorite things is watching, excuse me, is just looking for fishing tips and stuff like that, watching YouTube videos. I love, when you get these like deep fishermen people and they're talking about chartreuse. There's something so funny about somebody who's like just this real, fisherman type, that's in the woods fishing for bass in some remote area, just saying the word chartreuse a lot. It makes me smile. It's like this yellowy. We're gonna use that one. So, in any case, if you wanted to draw something as simple as this, it's really easy. Just use chartreuse, this canvas, and draw a color. We could like almost just pop this into our UI. Custom drawer here. I think we should get like a yellowy green. So yeah, it's pretty simple just to get up and running and just do custom drawing out here. Really nothing to that. Wanted to start drawing more stuff on it, but super easy to get up and running. And like I said, today we're going into the native world just because we need to listen for some keyboard stuff, but you even can listen for touch interaction here. You gotta declare this touch. You could even listen to touch in here and do nuts with this, but you can listen to touch in here, and you can start, do like a finger painting type of thing in like no time. Right, so we'll leave that. Maybe if we've got some bonus time at the end, we'll get back to it. But like I said, for today, we're talking about this entry. And so we need to go back to our native project out here and say, let's start with the more reasonable, I think, of the two, which is almost entirely always iOS. And to enable us to have our own custom control out here, we're going to need to make a custom iOS control. just to get started with. So I'll come out here and we're going to add in a new file. And we'll call this one and but we do. So the nice part about this is, you know, we just looked at it kind of out here for the Xamarin.Forms world, but ooh, we can do the same kind of thing over here in the iOS and Android world as well. Sharp entry views. Here I'm going to choose an iOS view. We'll do this SK canvas. Right. The cool part about this, though, is it works pretty similar to what we had out there before. And so what I can do here, just like I was doing before, is I can override our surface, right? And now this is going to give me a canvas to draw on. So, you know, we're thinking in Bob Ross terms, our starting point where we get out titanium white, clear it off, get everything up there. So this is going to be our starting point for our iOS control. We also need to rig this thing up so that we can glue it between the native world, because this is going to be, this is, you know, at this point in time, a fully native iOS control, or a Xamarin native iOS control, however you want to look at that. And we need to make some glue code to get this back to our, get this back into our form side, right? And we do that with a custom renderer. So before I get too far into this one, let me just build that custom renderer out so I don't forget to do that later on. And this will be our Skia free iOS. Let's forget all the little nuances of a renderer. So this is going to be a view renderer of type. And our first type is going to be Skia entry. Our second type is going to be Skia entry. So it's going to say whenever somebody, you know, asks for a Skia entry, what we want to do is we're gonna cook up a Skia entry iOS for them. And then you also have to do a little bit of work out here with an attribute to, is it something renderer, export renderer, right? An export renderer is kind of the thing that's going to put some registration inside of our DLL that tells the runtime, the Forms runtime, that, hey, in this case, when you ask for a type of entry, what I'm really going to do is come out here. I'm going to go out to this renderer. So I think you can tell how absolutely prepared I am today for this. All right, so that kind of just, right, so this is our glue stuff. So in my Forms code now, whenever it goes to ask for a Skia entry on iOS, I'm going to say come out to this renderer, and realistically, I'm going to take that Skia entry that I created out there in Forms. I'll have that exposed as my element. And then, or yeah, my element, I believe, and then Skia entry iOS will be my control. Now we need to override here. If not equal to null, to do where you would like event handlers and whatnot out there, right? So that's where we'd go and shut that stuff down. But if we get a new element in, and I think it's like if this dot control not equal to null, then we are going to say dot set controller. I've got it. I think that's all we actually need out here. And let's do just a little bit of setup in. So I think this is all that we need, at least for now, just to get our renderer, right? So these to get our native iOS control flung back to our Skia entry out there in the form. And we'll just do a little bit of code to verify that. So again, we'll get our canvas. This e.surface. And from here, I'll just do, again, colors. Buy a whip. I'm in. I don't know. Is this probably going to be some orange color, I'm guessing? I have really no idea. I'm going to draw that papaya whip, though. Okay, let's see if this... I'll just leave a breakpoint. Get. Didn't. Try again. Maybe I'm missing something. Oh. Control if the control is null. Nobody ever said it. How is it not? Guys. Confidence level increased on this one. There we go. Now I'm seeing some. Cow. Ah. Okay. Came in here at least. So that's what we want. Want that to do. We are going to need to do some additional work. Like I said, we want this to actually be able to draw some text on like that. So we're going to need to get this set up here. Let me think. Got a little bit of notes out here. I think we also probably don't have a height assigned. Give this one. Done anything explicitly? It drew papaya whip, but see it. Barely see it. Decently resolution screens, but a little bit old in the color rep. Right? Use tomato. The field's more bold. Our tomato is drawn. Cool. Didn't require a ton more work, but now we could do stuff out here in Native World. So we've got our control out here, our tomato-backed control. And next up, we want to be able to tap into that and be able to listen for changes on it, right? So as our user types in on their keyboard, we want to intercept those key commands. We want to render text out on the screen for when they're doing that. Let's go ahead and let's see here. What do we want to start off with? We just draw some text first. Sure that we could do that before we go any further. I think we'll do that, and then we'll add some tap entry and stuff like. We'll make sure that we could draw text first, and then we'll come back and we'll do touch interact. I think I'm more for that myself. So I'm gonna go and grab some lookup code I have, because text sizing is a funny thing. So we'll find out. Go hunt down some text measurement code that I've written in the past. Text measure. Hunting right now. Yeah, so this will take me a minute here just to go find this code. So yeah, if anybody's got any questions or anything, now's probably pretty good time to toss them into the chat. Boop, boop, boop. Found it. Okay. Cool. All right. So we're like I said, we're going to start off by drawing some text on our UI here. Go ahead. And it's going to set up I know I'm probably going to need something later on for this. I'm going to private string and I'll do this the unoptimized way for now, but to be able to draw text out on Skia, what we need to do is we need to create this paint object. So bar, call this. So you really, whatever. Let's call it paint for now. Maybe we'll read for a few things. So our paint object, it's kind of like our brush, right? So again, we've got our canvas. If you think of all this stuff, Bob Ross terms. Big Bob Ross fan. Watch it all the time with Mike. Watched it a lot growing up too. Appreciate his approach to this stuff. You know, so if you think of it in Bob Ross or painting type of terms, you've got a canvas, just a blank canvas that you start off with. Our canvas is going to be the size of our area that we're painting on. So if we come out here, kind of peep this. There we go. If we peep this, like our ready area over here is going to be where we're going to be drawing. So our canvas is that rectangle. So anywhere in that rectangle right now is where we can draw. And what we did to start off with is we just drew that like reddish type of color in there. So next up, we want to be able to draw some text in there. Like I was saying, we do that using our paint control over, or using our paint object over here. So the paint object is going to be what allows us to supply our brush that we use. So paint now, we're going to say paint.color. And we'll just do this just to start off with. So we'll say skcolors.tomato, right? So I could start off with giving my paint a color like that. And now I could say, instead of draw color, I could say draw paint color. Paint's crazy though. Like if you really start digging into paint, it gives you the ability to not just draw, you know, not just like assign a color to it, but you start to get into things like, you know, drawing glyphs, or you could do shaders, or you could do, you know, get all your text information and masking and stuff like that. So, you know, like path effects, like if you draw a path on the screen, what should happen while drawing that path? Maybe we could dive more into this on a different stream. It's probably not going to make a ton of sense for today, but it's insane. You know, like it's just one little control, and you think like at least when I got started, I was like, just paint, okay? Like you know, what does the paintbrush do? I just give it a color or something. But when you really dive into what paint does, it's this super. It's like, you know, if you think of it as the like ultimate paintbrush, it sort of allows us to control everything and anything with how we're actually going to paint our text out there on the screen, or paint our control out there on the screen. So I'm just going to modify this then. So we'll say paint.color, and let's just adjust our color here for our text, and we'll say skcolors. They don't have titanium white. Unfortunate. The ghost white. We'll see how that goes. And paint.font text size. Yeah, text size. And we'll give this like a default text size. Now, I think this text size is an actual real pixels. I don't know if this is in like points. I think it's in like pixels. So we'll try this, and this might look bad. This might not look this, or might look small. We'll come back to this. We might need to adjust that in a little bit. What we do with this though is we then can say canvas.draw text, and I'm going to give it my entry text draw, and I need to give it a place to draw it. So we'll do, I think there's sk point empty It should be like 0, 0, which will be in the upper left of my control out here. So it'll be that upper left corner. And then I'll give it the paint to draw out there. And we'll give this some starting text. So Pulls number 1 on the hood of your car. Try to draw something. Nothing on my screen here. Find out why. I think I know why. I think our coordinates that we gave this here are going to be kind of sloppy. I think we chose sort of that 0, 0 out there, but I don't think that this is actually going to be really where we want this to draw. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually measure our text. Let's say paint. And we're going to measure our text to figure out its size. And we're going to give it our entry text. That'll give us our width, but really what I want are the text bounds here. And this is going to tell me like roughly what the area of my text, the area that my text needs. So to do that, you'll see that I'll have to give it this like ref skrect, and that'll give me the bounds. I don't think I can do you do ref out? I don't think you do a ref out, right? Tell me to cram it, isn't it? Fine. See how it is. I'm going to move this up here too. I think we'll like private skrect, and we'll call this our text. Textrect, and we'll just assign this to it off. Have that instance variable, and I can't say it was out. That's what I was. Not ref out, rect, bar rect. But this does. Okay, and this should give us a rectangle, and I think I want to do. So that'll get us think where we want to start. This will give us X nor Y. Let's just see if we do text dot might be right. Or I think text measurement. I think what I need to get. I think I need to get the ascent. So our paint also has, so back to me earlier mentioning how fonts are weird. Fonts are weird. So font. They're weird to start off with, I guess. So our fonts aren't just like straight up text like you think of them as. You know, so if you think of, you know, if I were to open up Word. blank document here. Even here, you could kind of see some of this. So, you know, your text isn't really just the top of the T to the bottom of the T kind of thing. You know, it got some space above and below it that actually belong to it. And if I highlight it, you could kind of see that here, where there's some space above and below our control. And, you know, like if you were to underline this, for example, see how that goes underneath the text, right underneath the text that was written. And if I were to write something, just don't autocorrect, just see how the J's and the G's down here also go below the line, or kind of into the line in this case. So you have this concept of like an ascent and I think it's descent, ascent and descent. So it's sort of the area above and below your font, or sort of, you know, if you think of there's like sort of this invisible rule that is where the bottom of your font's going to go. There's some space above and below it for where it needs to draw. So we're going to need to do a little bit of some calculations out here, I believe, to get this figured out and sized appropriately for our UI. So the font metrics will tell us some of that information. So I think what I could do, we'll go ahead and we'll just try and draw this, try and figure out our center points. So like var, sure. This is where I'm gonna snag some pre-written code that I had, stuff that we do out here in the Aurora controls. Let me see, I've got this. I think this will work. Let's find out if this works. Okay. So we're going to introduce this piece here. So I'm actually going to we'll draw the text like right in the middle. We'll get it so we could draw this text right in the middle of this box out here. And what I'm going to do to help me out to draw this is I'm going to create this thing called a new SK Auto Canvas Restore. And it's going to be... So what Auto Canvas Restore is going to allow me to do is, if you imagine, you know, this is our, you know, back to our canvas out here. It's sort of our canvas as it's been drawn on the screen right now. But sometimes what I want to do is I want to move around the canvas. So, you know, if you imagine that there's some kind of like a spotlight or a human standing behind this canvas, the point that I'm drawing at, if you imagine that kind of as being fixed, and then I want to move the canvas around it. But whenever I'm done doing whatever I was done doing, I want the canvas to kind of go back to where it started off at. We could do that using this helper here called SK Auto Canvas Restore. Because what we'll do is we'll move the canvas around, and then we're going to draw on it. And then when we're done drawing, I want to move the canvas back to where it started out at. This is kind of like it sort of uses that disposal pattern out here to move our canvas across. So we'll do all the stuff that we were doing before. Grab our measurement out here. Oh. So this is going to be our... Anyway, grab that. And... next. Draw some text. A little bit of math. What? So like I was saying, we need to move our canvas around. So we're going to kind of stay where we're at, but we're going to move the canvas around us. And so I'm going to say canvas.translate. And I need to give it a point. So, or I think I just give it. We're going to say move us to, we're going to move the canvas to kind of center it around where our text is at here. We're going to say, it's going to be width. We're going to do xrect dot width. Scoot it to the left. And then we're going to have to pull in our font metric. We'll say, this is definitely some magic code that I've got over here. I'm just going to pull this one and copy it straight out of here because I've got this from I've done. I think that will, ability purposes here. Actually, this is how I usually write this. So we're going to translate our canvas. We're going to move it to halfway what our text should be that way. And then we're going to adjust it for our font metrics for ascent and descent. And I think I can move my font, and then I need to get the midway point of my canvas. And so to do that, our canvas itself doesn't have like a size. You'll see if you kind of go through here, it inherently itself doesn't have a size. But we can get the size from our event.r exec canvas. Maybe we're going to need that later on. Well, for some that r. It's actually the surface e dot info dot rect. That's our, I'm going to call it canvas. Makes more sense. Call it canvas size here. And then, so I've got this translated to there, and then I'm going to draw this text in the middle of my canvas. Suited it, the size. Mid X. I. Can I create an app for you and take $1 million? I'm available for consulting work, so if you ever need anything, give me $1. When you're done watching this, you should be able to do this yourself. Oh. Thanks for the follow there, Laser, though. There we go. Yeah, I've got my extremely teeny tiny zoom in times 1,000,000 font drawn out here. I don't know if you guys could read that. We gotta enhance. We drew some text and it showed up in the middle because, like I said, we did some magic. So we basically offset our canvas based on our font's metrics so that we could figure out sort of what's my top and what's my bottom out here, and then sort of what's my center point for where it wants to draw all of my text. So we measured our text, and then we used the measurement of that text along with the some additional information supplied with the font to tell us sort of the area above and below it that our font's going to want. This will kind of help us there. And you'll notice, so again, like I mentioned, so I've got this 16-point font. Or excuse me, 16 floated text size here, and it's like really small. I don't think that would constitute as being 16 point. And I think the reason because of that is it's not taking pixel scaling into consideration here. And let's see if there's an easy way that I can get that. I'm trying to think of. I know that there's like a flag we can set. I think there's this dot ignore pixel scaling. Listen, I'm all for making good ideas, but none of us need Zuckerberg money. I'll take. There we go. Our font looks better here now, or our, looks bigger. Still looks kind of grimy though. Let's see if we can fix that up. So we have two options. First option being we could turn on anti-aliasing. So let's see if that helps. Paint dot anti-aliasing. Alias is true. And that kind of helps round out fonts and stuff like that, or helps round out our drawing. That already looks. I think I could probably live with. Typically what I would do though is it's better to find out the scale factor of your UI. There's a fairly easy way to find this out, I think. Maybe we'll go dig in a minute and we'll see if we could find it. But I'm cool with that for now. It's us drawing. Appreciate the enthusiasm there, Laser. all for chilling in a private jet. It's fun. All right. So we know that we could draw, right? Besides kind of having to figure out some stuff with some font sizing. Wasn't too bad out here to get us drawing out on the screen. Kind of get that up and running. The next thing that we want to do then is figure out how we get input from a user. And if memory serves me correct, we're going to go Safari here, and I think it's iOS custom entry custom probably keyboard. Find it. Managing the keyboard, registering for like board. Managing your keyboard input. I always think it's funny whenever I'm looking up like iOS docs, I almost always end up like on the docs that Apple's docs for UI text input, interaction with text subsystem, auto correction. That might be What about text in key input here? This is the one. Do this one. This is the one? Maybe this is the one. We'll find out. So I know. So this thing's a protocol. And we can't do protocols exactly in the C# world, so almost always, maybe always, but you can correct me on that one. I think these are going to be implemented as interfaces for us. Xamarin world. So IUI key input. Quick fix. Implement that interface and we got a whole bunch of stuff. Here. Let's do this one first, I guess. Has text. So not. For our have these properties that look this. Try this at home. So let's do this. Say this is probably not the recommended way to do this. We're building a cheesy version. All right, so that's cool. What else we got next? Okay, yeah, I remember these now. So we have this is like our whole text interaction right here, which is pretty crazy. So you'll see that we've got delete backwards and insert text. So if I remember right, when you type, and let me turn off this hardware keyboard here. When you type, you just get like the text that was typed in, and then you get notified when somebody deletes something, but you don't have any concept of where the hell this stuff. So that'll be fun. So let's just say insert text. I'm going to get rid of my default text. Default this one. So with insert text, again, this is probably not the efficient way to do this, but insert text plus equal text here. And then delete backwards. So if so I guess I could use that thing that I made there. So if I have text or not has text, turn. If I do have text, I guess we'll just take the last character off. Do seems right to me. Find out. I feel like there's something I'm missing here. Implement that interface. Now let's see if we shows our keyboard and stuff. I think I probably have to register like So for iOS, configuration. I think we need to be able to become to be able to that telling me you're wrong. Maybe that's enough. Yeah, so good question. So what is can become first responder? I think so the first responder means focus in iOS. I think we have to tell it that we're available to become a first responder. So just saying, like, can this control come into focus and be the first response point, right? So essentially, if you think of it, I think is there's probably more nuance to it, but I think it's essentially just saying, like, can we focus in on this control? Can a user interact with their focus? Maybe not just interact with, but can this become a input point for our control? So, like, can we focus in on this control? I think we probably need to, like, tell it to become a first responder. Wonder. Probably do this with it. Say, like, tap gesture here. This tap gesture recognizers, like if you've done like iOS or Xamarin.Forms before, this is what they're kind of using underneath the sheets. A lot of that stuff. So we'll say this tap gesture dot add target. So just saying, like, when we do this tap, what do we want to go do? I think we could say this dot become first responder. So when somebody taps on this, and we could say this dot tell how much time I spent. Good little boys. Move gesture recognizer. It's all right. So we always got to be, again, want to be good cleanup people. Those of this one. We always want to clean up after ourselves, in particular when we're doing native things, because in iOS there's no garbage collector. Everything's reference counted. So if this control's inside of the UI, I just want to be aggressive about cleaning it up, I guess. Maybe over aggressive. Maybe too much for a demo code. pretty paranoid about all that stuff all the time. So add it just in case. Okay, so my confidence level is 60%. Will this work? Good docs for learning custom renderers. Yeah, so Xamarin docs kind of rule. I don't know how much time you spent looking out there. Xamarin docs team. So if you head out here to the, this is just the Microsoft site for Forms, custom renderers. This is, you know, when I was first learning, I would come out here and just read, read these docs and see exactly what they're doing out there to get this going. Now, if you're looking to make implementing a view, going through all this stuff, it'll show you everything that you need to know to get a renderer up and running. This is absolutely where I would go if you're looking to get started out here. And they do a pretty good job, well as providing sample code, so you could read through, you could see the implementation that they built. I don't know if this is gonna take me to GitHub or like you could go and grab some sample code for what was built out there as well. So if you're not sure, like, hey, if you're more of like a visual learner or like a hands-on learner, I know for some people just chunking through docs is not exactly the most fun thing. They almost always have some kind of backing project. You come out here to this, like here, this is a Xamarin.Forms samples repo, and just plunk through this. It's an awesome way to. That's, like I said, when I was getting started on this stuff, when I was, first doing some forms development, I would come out here. And I mentioned it before, like even in comparison that you would think like a company like Apple or Google would have great docs about developing for their platforms, but they're not. So definitely come out here, take a look, check out those repositories. The last thing I'll say too, I spend a tremendous time in today's I am always digging out here for, like, I just go digging into the forms source code all the time. There's so much good little code in here just to kind of help you get up and running and help you understand things. So definitely recommend, popping out there and taking it. Great way to learn. Great way to see, like, how to do the right thing as well, which is a lot of people, it's really easy to do the wrong thing. And this is, or to see a sample of some code and to see people doing it wrong. But this is the production code for Forms. So if you're, if you're running like, how do they do a renderer for a thing? You could come out here and look at like Platform iOS and get their renderers. How do they do, like this checkbox renderer, for example? It's a bad example. Look at a better example. Like an image view, right? Like, how did they implement this image view? You could go through here and you could see how they built out all the custom renderer for that. I think it's pretty awesome. It's a great place to. All right, so let's see if our, oh yeah, look at that. See if our control's working. My keyboard works now, so it did become first responder. Like I could type out of those. Yeah, have a great day. Thanks for stopping by. See if we could find out why we could type, but we're not having any text. I think I know. So even though we've got our, I think it probably, if I go into here, I'm gonna actually updating my text. It is, right? So I've got my text out here. But I don't tell it to actually go and do anything with it, right? I'm kind of updating that string. But what I need to do, guessing, is I need to call this dot what is it for iOS? Set needs display. I think that's the one. And set needs display is going to tell it that it basically needs to go repaint the UI. Might be a more efficient way to do this. What this will do is on demand then when I type into here, should now tell the UI that self again. Ah. Xamarin. I delete. Uh-oh. No. What do I do? Oh. This. Cool. Check it out. Got an entry for... Not too bad. Cool with that. We don't have a cursor or anything on it. Very on Vix. But I'm gonna take that as a victory. Probably. Oh, a cursor. We won't do it yet. That'll be bonus round. All right, so yeah, cool. That is my super basic entry for entry. Ciao. So that's pretty easy-ish. Call it that. We're missing 100 million features, but that's kind of, you know, which is. Let's see if we can do this for Android then. Start off with our Android. Give it a minute for this bad boy to start up. Good. All right. So we're kind of where we started off out there. Where we started out on the iOS world. Got our UI set up. Our form stuff is looking good. That chartreuse. Still chartreuse. But we have none of our custom out here for Android. And so we're going to need to just build that up. let's go ahead and just do that same work out here for Android. And I'm going to do this a little bit in reverse, because I can copy and paste my way to success over here. I copy that renderer out first. Tag that bad boy. Good. 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 Pop it out. I think, what's this guy? This guy's different. Yep. And I'm not going to have Skia entry iOS. I'll have deployed. Which, probably have to pass to. Okay, now we'll set up, so kind of the reverse. We set up on iOS first, we set up our native control, and then we glued it up with the renderer. But since I could just, you know, like I said, copy and paste my way to success here, I grabbed the renderer first. Now we'll make Skia. Droid. The cool part about this is I get to cheat a little bit for the second one, because we'll reuse a bunch of the stuff that we wrote for iOS. Again, another thing that I adore about SkiaSharp, especially if you've ever tried to do any sort of drawing, native drawing between iOS and Android, is that they work very differently. But SkiaSharp standardizes all of it, so draw on one platform, it's going to be the same. The other one are more or less the same. Differences. So Skia entry droid. This one does, yes, this is what I thought. This is text. Text. And base. There. I'm going to override that on paint surface, just like we did before. Come on, but let's go. Do all that code. If you were doing this more for production, you know, you could be smart about this, and you could probably make a few little generic changes to this. I don't even know that you'd really even need that. And you could just have this paint method be shared somehow, right? You could build some class that you would inject into both of these. Draw it out. Looks like we got an Android fan in here. Much like the Mandalorian, I'm not a fan of droids. I say that, but I use a Pixel phone. I like Android. I just like saying thing about them. This is now the Mandalorian chat, so if anybody... Spoilers. Go snag some things that we had out here from before. I'm going to ignore pixel scaling for now, but let it take. The canvas will be essentially, you know, so pixel scaling, I don't know if I really talked about it last one much before, so, you know, everybody remembers, or you might remember, when we went to like Retina displays on phones. Phones didn't get much bigger. Well, I guess they were getting, regardless. The big thing is that they crammed more pixels onto an individual screen. So what you think of, you know, like in my terms, we had like light brights growing up. There's sort of like this plane, X and Y plane that has these little dots on it that are pixels. What got represented on the screen now, what we would have thought is like each one of those individual light bright little dots or little dot on the screen used to be a pixel, but now those individual pixels maybe are made up of 4 pixels or 9 pixels or something like that. So, you know, we have this idea now, they're usually referred to as like dips or points. It's this display independent pixel. And so like a real physical pixel is not what we think of. You know, a physical pixel is not a physical pixel anymore. And so what we're going to do here is basically by setting this ignored pixel scaling set to true, is it's going to work with the dip units as opposed to the physical pixel unit. I think there's maybe like a loss in quality of doing this a little bit. I actually don't know. I probably should know. I looked into this at one point in time for the ignore pixel scaling. I guess there's probably a loss in quality. And typically what you would do is you would just do some of the measurements yourself. We would call out to the operating system and tell us the pixel scaling. And then when we did things like this down here for the text size, we would adjust this based on our current scale. But it's Saturday, y'all. Worked a long week. Going in full cheese. I'm gonna say scaling set. Because then those, what we think of as physical pixels, kind of makes, you know, a little more. Is that reality true? Thanks, Ralph Unit. You grew up with a light bright as well. I didn't actually have one, but when. Right, so we don't have our keyboard stuff set up on here yet, but I could probably say the what did I say? If anybody knows that reference, get banana stickers. Entry. Cool. Run. Don't do this. Clean that up. Here. Burn this to the ground. I think this is just Debian. Okay. All right, we're back. Let's give it a shot. Facing thing. I don't know why that didn't happen earlier. Weird. Yikes. Android emulator. Not known to be the fastest thing around. But we eventually got in there. We drew it. See? Copy and paste. That's how developers get. Tell your boss just took. Oh, to do Android's gonna. Just kidding. Don't ever do that. All right, so we've got that, but I can't tap on it, and I can't edit it, or I can't do anything. And I think we're gonna get into the world of Android. So go out to the Google, see if we can board. Put handle keyboard input. I think this is the one I want. I think this is the one we want, if I remember it. The key event callback, I think, is the one that we want to tell us when somebody types on the screen. And that's an interface because Java world works a lot closer to C# world. We'll have some kind of I callback. Security callback. Event callbacks. We have on key down, on key long press. Or I guess on key up. Probably what we. And get there. Barf. Stuff's iOS world. I think I have to look at like code dot XP. Forward down. Or delete characters or the insert. That sounds like a delete to me. Good. Fact. If it's delete, we'll change this maybe to a switch statement later on. Case code there might be other deletes. So if display, so I think we'll move that set needs display out. Validate, yeah. So this just again, this invalidate's going to tell Android, hey, you need to go redraw yourself, which is going to go tell our canvas, hey, you need to go redraw yourself, which will make us go into our paint surface. Anytime somebody types in now, it's going to automatically cause it to do a paint cycle. Otherwise, I guess our... Let's use default, I suppose. Yeah. Entry text plus equal. I don't think it's our key code that we want to get. Dot characters? For the special case of a multiple action event. Is that a new case in here? Was it? It wasn't. Key event. Oh, it's a key event action multiple. So this thing's gonna be this is where this thing starts getting super intense super fast. Let's see if I could just go down the easy route. The Unicode character. Yeah, we'll do that. And is that a int? Well, that. Check it. Wait. I get us our Unicode character. I don't know. Uncharted territory. It's been a while. I don't think that just by adding that interface on here, we're going to be able to type, though. I think we're going to have to do some shenanigans to get the software keyboard, if I remember. View. Right, view. Focusable. And again, I think this is going to be our property that is going to, yeah, sort of like we go back out here to our iOS implementation. Remember, we had to put on. Oh, yeah, can become first responder. I believe this will be the same. I could probably set it up the same way, so. Got a getter and a setter. We'll just say set true. Do this out. It's focusable. There it is. And focusable. All right, so we're gonna have likely some kind of event that we could. I like this one. On focus changed. Cool. Go with that one. So direction. Always going forward and twirling. Twirling. Gain focus. Yeah. Android show red and goes. For anybody who's done like Android development for some time. Focus listener. Um, when we gain... This is the cool part about Android with Xamarin is that the cool thing about Xamarin and Android is that C# and Java are really close. So if some that we get our input method manager. Do any of this if we can't get that input method manager. Pretty sure that I'm going down the right path here, but scream at me if I'm doing the wrong thing. We need to we need to be able to get this input method manager because this allows us to change whether or not, or it allows us to change or display, I should say, whether or not we're going to have keyboard show. Software keyboard. So this does nothing for hardware keyboards. I don't think any, maybe my iOS stuff would work with a hardware keyboard. Probably not though. We need to like show the soft. So that's telling us we need to show the software input flags that are forced tone to be added. Or seems like see if maybe this now will show a keyboard. Check the stations. This thing. I'm using this little app called Pretzel. Cool. Didn't get it. Touch of bulls. Let's try that one. Does it? Right, chat. Pray for Mojo. in here because we know. I'm gonna go check some matlocking. Okay. Let's see. Responding to touch event. Percept. Set a click list. Maybe we'll try. If we. Probably need to tell it to like west. Okay. Black focus. Discipline. Let's see. There we go. Now I got some touch. Action. All right, cool. If dot action. Like okay. $60-40 on this now. Wow. Oh, yes. Changed. Gained focus. Oh. skill development. True test. Can I type? Yeah, I sure can type in an I. Yeah, it does that like inkwell animation. Couldn't back. I delete on my keyboard. Oh, okay. Good enough. Like I said, this is using that software keyboard, so I probably need to like tell it. I think tell it to. Edit to add this code to the key focus. Give that a shot. Cool. There we go. Simple entry for Android. Mission accomplished. Sweet. This thing's not production ready though. Love everything. Don't roll it into production at bad time. But check it out. Like, type on a keyboard, and I don't have like a cursor. I can't go back to here. Try something. It's saying like if you already have focus, just guess if nothing. Let's see. I think it's bottom. Oh. Wait, stop. Probably need to check like it. It's not worth getting into that for today. What I want to get going. What else could we do that would be fun? A little bit more. 30 more minutes. To try to draw a cursor. Not going to find out where in the text that the cursor goes. Do this for iOS because switch back to iOS. See if we could draw this for iOS. Right, so we already know where we're going to draw that text. Measure our text. Shoot my canvas. Draw it out here. So I think I could set it there. Probably do something like a rounded rectangle. Okay, round rectangle. Left. Let's see. All right. Let's do our left position. Okay. Do SK. That one. Left, our top, our right, and our bottom. Our left point here. We've already scooted the canvas over halfway from where we want to be. Say, hold this and pull this like. variables. Scooted it over here. Now I'm going to scoot to the right. We'll say left width. My top will be my top. I'll just do 0. Right. Make our camera. Make it the cursor the size of a character. I could do this. Metrics. X. Maximum bounding box. X value. Yeah. I think X max. Then the canvas. Not going to be perfect, but that's a good starting point. Let's try that as a starting. And we'll kind of round it a little bit because it always looks nice. So we'll draw it. Same paint. Color out here. You get like a think, right? We should get like a little box at the R type. Try that. Build cancel. Build it again. Oh no, we don't. Completed this. I think I could do. I don't think it's right there. Let's see. We scooted it to the left. Oh, okay. Then we came, so I gotta like visualize this. Scooted our canvas to the left. Half. I think this is going to be back plus width. The width up here came from our measure text. I think that's hit X. There's a start of our little cursor. See if we can make that. So instead of starting at 0, since we've already like scooted this, I guess we'll start at 0. I think that's actually, it's not going to be the campsite. That's going to be our do X-Men. Eight. It's 14. There's a problem. Probably have to. If I do this. There. By yes. X height for my. Sure, it's right. Average character width. I think I have to take. You have to take the consideration. I think you need like. Where I need somebody who's like a font master. It's not me. I think you have to take the top into consideration. I always. You have to take like the. get the font. Maybe there's somebody on the internet smarter. Yeah. Height. Get font. Did I just hit Java stuff? Close. It again. Like. So I might have. Or if this could. Oh. Sure. Sure. Right, but we'll give it a shot. Our cursor half height will be our correct. So here we're going to do yeah, that looks. Maybe that'll be closer to what we want. Spend more time getting the cursor going. Let's see. Fifth. I feel like this. Look at like our. Big. Font hero. Guess I could just like. Cursor rectangle. About the side. For my height out here. Oh well. Just the cursor. This is where stuff gets tough. What we're gonna do is we're gonna comment that out for now. Probably call it a day there. I'll come back to it. I'll mess around. Yeah. Simple entry. Up and running. Got like a cursor. It's just like a Bizarro cursor out here, right? Let me check the chat again. See if there's anything else that we got. Any other questions? No. Yeah. That's going to wrap it up for today. So just a quick recap, right? Started out with nothing. Created some canvases. A little bit of work out there to get curves hooked up. Did some drawing. Some less effective drawing on cursor at the end, but mostly effective drawing. We're able to get out here, get our entry field set up, listen for some keyboard input, kind of get that up and rolling. I will commit this to my GitHub, so let me go do that now before I forget to do it later. And simple setup. Render setup, commit to master, push. And that will be out there at my GitHub. So that's out there at GitHub. Bonus. Ow. Go, here it is. Xamarin.Forms Skia entry. Thanks for the follow there, JG. Yeah, so you can go and grab this code, integrate it into your applications, make a simple entry, figure out how to make a cursor work, because I couldn't. At least not right now. I'll probably play around with this a little bit more. It'll drive nuts. But yeah, you know, like I said, easy to get up and running, but don't forget, remember when we first started here today? We took a look at this monster, which was the text view for Android, and it's like weighing in at a pretty light, hold on, I'm gonna get fingers cramping, hang on. We'll get there, hang on. Yes, it's super simple code, guys. You guys could easily write this. Right, yeah, we'll be at the end here. Right, you too could pretty simply get a your own custom entry field written with only 11,000 lines of code. But I wouldn't recommend it. You know, if you're going to do this, do it for a very specific use case. Do it for your app if you know that you don't need to support for everybody. If you want to be maintaining an entry field for the rest of your life, I guess publish it and make it a NuGet package and listen to people complain because it doesn't work with language, it probably doesn't work with ligatures, and it doesn't work with all kinds of other cool font stuff. That is something that I would probably leave to somebody who's... That's a different thing. Thanks for the follow there, bruh moment. Appreciate it. We had a question. Do you think one can do SkiaSharp with no math skills? Just saw me do it out here today. So I guess the answer is yes. Yeah, I mean, you got to math. You got to do some math, but like most of it's pretty straightforward. It's mostly just like plane calculations, right? So you're just like XY plane. It's, you know, SkiaSharp is a 2D drawing. It does support, like, you could do like matrix math and stuff like that if you want to do 3D transformations and whatnot out there. I think check this out. This is our Aurora controls. You could actually do really cool things with it. You could maybe is this one. Well, that didn't work. Great demo, Mike. Go. I'll switch over to here. I'll show you. Maybe. So, by and large, like the math that you're doing is pretty straightforward. It's nothing crazy. But if you do, so, you know, and again, like I said, SkiaSharp is made for 2D drawing. It's not like a 3D renderer, right? It's not, but it does allow you to bring in things like matrix transformations. So if you wanted to, you can see I've got this cool picture of John C. Reilly down here. Fan favorite of me. It does allow you to take things on a 2D plane, and you can start manipulating them in 3D, right? So here I can start doing things like the matrix transformation, 3D transformation. That's all just using. But like by and large, most of the math that you're going to be writing are just with matrices. I think just use the 4x4 matrix. As you could tell, again, definitely not my strong suit. I got to go do Googling. I picked up some books because I hadn't done a lot of that stuff since college. So you gotta do a little bit of reading. But like if you wanted to draw a control, for example, like here's our slider control. You could do this with very simple math. Like it's pretty straightforward, or like box or something like that. Like all this is fairly straightforward. Imagine you just have a big grid. Got like an X and a Y. You move things to the center and draw it around a radius, and just kind of draw from there. So it's, you know, if you're not super confident, you know, on the math side, you could easily make your way through. You know, like I said, you saw me do it. I wouldn't consider myself a math whiz. I think all right at best, but you know, you can definitely. Cool. Let me see if there's any other questions, comments. No? Cool. I will, so yeah, I'll wrap it up here for today. I've got that code posted out there already. I'll probably post the video out on my YouTube. Good to like, follow, and subscribe. And that's my kids. That makes sense. So, yeah, I'll post that video out there. So if you didn't catch this live, you can go see it there, and then I'll put it on Twitter just so you can find it out there. Hope you enjoyed today. I'll probably come back next week, Saturday, or thereabouts. I'll try and make it at least one day a week out there to do this. Maybe next week we'll do something Skia focused. Maybe next week we will do something reactive UI focused. Maybe we'll do something different all the way around. I have a so my precious that I've got here right now. Maybe we'll do something with this. I'll have to figure out like a different camera setup though. I've got a this is a Wilderness Labs. Their Meadow board. It's like a little prototyping board that runs .NET. And I've been messing around with this thing, doing some coding to, I've got this little piggyback board over here that runs, it's for, I think it's built originally for a Raspberry Pi. It's called the Pi Hat. And it's got like a LED matrix on there and a little joystick, an accelerometer, temperature sensor, pressure sensor, a few other things. And so I've been messing around with this as well, and it's all .NET code. You could write it all here on, again, in Xamarin or Visual Studio on the Mac or on Windows, and you can kick out .NET code to this thing. It's super awesome. It's not a paid endorsement in any way, shape, or form. I just love hardware stuff quite a bit. So maybe we'll do something with that next week. I don't know. If you've got options, or if you've got ideas, rather, for what we should do, if there's some things you want to see out there in the .NET world, hit me up on Twitter. It's my Twitter link is out there on this page. Just scream at me on Twitter. But maybe we'll do something with this next week. Maybe we'll do something with, yeah, again. I don't know. I'm up for whatever. Yeah, we'll probably end it here for today. Thanks everybody for joining again. Have a good rest of your weekend. And see you here a week or so.